Hey guys, just before this video starts, I do want to forewarn you that this is technically, well not technically, this is my first video essay type video for anime. Obviously it's not going to be the best thing in the world, it's going to be very rusty, but I am very passionate about this game series, more so this game in general, and so I just had to talk about it. And I know Jackson is going to be working on a Final Fantasy VII video essay at some point, but and his is going to be different from mine, so just don't be too hard on me in the comments. But anyway, I do hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, enjoy the video. April 10th of 2020 was a day many Final Fantasy VII fans were looking forward to. This mostly being due to the fact that this was going to be a remake of a game that literally changed the gaming industry as we know it, and changed the way we look at and appreciate video games. We owe many things to Final Fantasy VII. It helped JRPGs get popular in the West, and it also helped outsiders get interested in the Final Fantasy series as a whole. One of the reasons this game was so successful was because Final Fantasy VII had an amazing cast of characters, all with unique backstories and personal struggles they have to deal with and overcome during your journey as you play the game. But it's ultimately the group dynamic between these different characters that make them so likable. Not to mention an intriguing and interesting world, with amazing wildlife, towns, and people to come across and encounter. And finally, a badass villain who has become the anime swordsman. He literally started the anime swordsman trope, which would later get popularized in more anime and manga and basically other media as a whole. But Sephiroth is just not an iconic video game character. He's just an iconic character in general. Like, come on, everyone has at least heard of the name Sephiroth. However, all those things are great, but you can't have a good game without an incredible story. And in mine and many other people's opinions, this is why Final Fantasy VII is so great. The story of traveling with your party across Gaia while on the race to find Sephiroth is one that has captivated the hearts of millions. Obviously, I won't say too much about the story because I believe it is one that everyone has to experience for themselves. So that is all I'll be talking about, the original game. But releasing on January 31st, 1997 for the PS1, Final Fantasy VII would go on to get many TV commercials you would see in the newspapers and even billboards. Final Fantasy VII was everywhere. Square Enix really promoted the hell out of this game. Granted, they only showed CG cutscenes and not actual gameplay, so that's probably why most people back in the day bought the game in the first place. Though I wasn't alive in 1997, I have heard from fans in the community that the FF7 cutscenes in scale weren't seen or done at the time, which made this a really big deal. Part 2. The rumors of a remake. The year is 2005, and Square Enix decides, hey, let's make a full-length film and call it Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. This would serve as the direct sequel to the original game. This would be set 5 years after the events of the original game, and we go on to see how Cloud and the gang are dealing with the loss and suffering of Aerith's death. Mostly this is from Cloud's point of view, who not only blames himself for her death, but also falls into a deep depressive state. I really like Advent Children for the Cloud case study, but back on track, Cloud and the gang will then later go on to fight Sephiroth another time. After beating Sephiroth for a second time, Gaia is finally at peace. Alright, now, we just gotta get this out of the way. Advent Children is not a great movie. It's a bad one, a real bad one. It can be enjoyable, though, at some times. However, as much as I love these characters and their stories, they don't feel anything like they did in the original games. Me and many other fans in the community feel this way. The voice acting is questionable and downright laughable at some scenes. Some of the characters don't even sound like most people would assume. Ones that stick out to me are probably Kate Sith, Red 13, and Barrett. When I played the original game and going back to Advent Children, they just don't sound anything like I would imagine them. And I think other people agree on those examples. But I do got to admit, I am a big fan of Cloud and Sephiroth's voice actors. This is probably due to them being in both Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, which technically was my first introduction of the Final Fantasy VII crew. Yes, I know, call me a fake fan, but I used to think that the Final Fantasy characters that popped up in Kingdom Hearts were Kingdom Hearts original characters. But I mean, how was I supposed to know? Like, I was only 9 years old. I didn't know any better. But anyways, back to the main topic. Advent Children wasn't a good movie, but I do got to admit the action towards the end of the film, Cloud vs. Sephiroth rematch, that was a good moment. After the movie came out, the idea of a possible remake circled the heads of fans. Many people thought, how amazing would it be if we had a full remake of the original game, but with the graphics of Advent Children? Like, hell yeah, sign me up. But as early as the mid-2000s, people were already hoping for a possible remake in the future. Also, in 2005, a tech demo was made to show off the power of the PS3, and in the tech demo, an almost one-for-one shot remake of the opening cinematic of Final Fantasy VII was shown off. This further placed the idea of a FF7 remake was on the near horizon or already in development based off of the technical demo. However, this would not lead to anything. Part 3. Development Hell. Many years went by and not even a hint or a word about a possible remake was spoken. Then, later in 2015, a trailer was shown off for a remastered version of Final Fantasy VII coming to PS4, which was cool, but at the time made many people upset. This isn't what the fans wanted, and many people were starting to question Square Enix and doubt them if they were even listening to the fans and what they wanted. That is until one fateful day. Sony PlayStation E3 conference of 2015. The day that literally changed everything. At the end of the conference, Sony had one final announcement. What they showed shocked the entire world. Oh yeah, that's right. Final Fantasy VII Remake is actually happening and has been confirmed. Like, what world are we living in? The world joins together in celebration, and the most exciting news comes of a lifetime. People were like in genuine shock at the fact that their favorite game that means so much to them is coming back in a whole new way. Like, I couldn't even imagine what that felt like. While the announcement of this remake was like really exciting and all high and mighty to the mass public, this simply wasn't the case for behind the curtains where the game was being built. Let's just put this lightly, this game had a very rough development hell cycle. Later during the year, at 2015 PlayStation Experience, we had gotten to see a trailer of what Cyberkinetics, the team that initially was working on the project, was working on in the background. And let's just say it was more than people were actually thinking. We actually saw some voice acting and cutscenes and also some gameplay. The gameplay was far different from what we got in the final project, and it's most likely definitely heavily inspired by the Kingdom Hearts series. And that was the last time we saw or heard about that specific project in a long time. But later in 2016, a news article from an interview session, Q&A session with Square Enix came out, and in that Q&A, we had learned that the game had just barely finished their scenario. Like, which is not a good thing. This caused many suspicions as worries within the community arose if the remake development process was actually going smoothly or not. In 2017, Square Enix decided, you know what, we're taking this in-house, we're scrapping what Cyberkinetics did, and they're basically pressing restart. But this time they were doing it entirely in-house. This would mean that they could get the same team and workers that worked on the original project, the 1997 original, and basically remake the game authentically. And so as of 2017, the remake project had finally begun production. Part 4. Redemption. The year is 2019, and it is Square Enix's E3 conference of E3. And we finally get a new trailer for Final Fantasy VII Remake. We've been 2 years without any info, so it was really nice to see what Square Enix has been cooking up in their in-house studio in the meantime. And let me just say, this trailer had it all. We finally got to see the new combat with the new and improved ATB system. We got to see Cloud and Barret gameplay as they fight the Scorpion Sentinel. And we finally got to see Tifa in her new remake design. And you know, of course, the internet absolutely died and loved it as they saw their favorite waifu again. Like, come on, it's just too good. And to end it off, we had finally gotten a release date of March 3rd, 2020. As the year and months went by, we got more and more trailers showing off more gameplay and more keen and important story elements. The hype and anticipation was just growing and elevating throughout the months as we were getting closer and closer to the actual release of the game. Unfortunately, the game did not end up getting delayed, or it did. My bad. I messed up on the script there. It did end up getting delayed, however, only by 1 month. And we ended up getting the final product on April 10th, 2020. We did end up getting the demo for the game on the release of when the game was actually supposed to come out, which I think was actually quite a nice little nod and was nice for us to basically get a little taste test of what the game was going to be a month prior to when the new game's release date. And let me just say, I played the absolute shit out of this demo. I can't even remember how many times I played it. I just remember playing it over and over and over again because it was just too good. I just had to keep playing. I had pre-ordered the digital deluxe edition of the game just a few weeks prior to the launch of the game, and let me tell you, I was beyond hyped. I had the PS4 theme on. I checked every day to hope the release time got shorter. I was just so hyped for this game. I do want to say real quick though that if it weren't for the Kingdom Hearts franchise, I probably wouldn't care or be interested in these characters enough to like go out and get the games they're originally from. So for that single fact alone, thank you Kingdom Hearts for getting me introduced to Sephiroth, Cloud, Yuffie, Tifa back in Kingdom Hearts 2. But anyways, back on topic. This game came out at the perfect time for me, honestly, and it really got me lost and invested in this world, so big props to when it came out. A major reason of that is because at the time, obviously, the whole COVID thing was going on, and we were still in quarantine at the time, and my school was all online, no in-school, classes. So I did as much schoolwork as I could online in advance, so I wouldn't have any distractions for when the game came out. And let's just say, when COVID first hit and we were on quarantine, my online classes were a joke. I basically finished the school year like within the first 2 weeks. Like, we did nothing online because obviously it was a pandemic and the teachers didn't want the kids to worry about schoolwork. So I was basically just free. I didn't have a job at the time. I think I was like 16, so I didn't have a job, which maybe I should have had. But yeah, I didn't have anything lined up, so I could really just sink my teeth into this world. And then on the day of August 9th, 2020 at 10 p.m., technically 2 hours early of when it's supposed to officially come out, my Final Fantasy VII Remake journey had officially begun. Part 5, My Journey. So yeah, the game came out, and wow, people absolutely loved it, myself included. All I saw was just absolute praise from first-time fans playing FF7 Remake, getting introduced to this story for the first time, and hardcore OG fans of the original game. They were absolutely eating it up. Final Fantasy VII was like back and bigger than ever, which was so cool. So yeah, I played and beat the game in like nearly roughly 40 hours or so. I have a save file of like when I first beat it, and it's April something 2020. I have like roughly 40 hours beaten, so it took me around 40 hours to get like the full story. I did the side quests and the different chapters. I did as much as exploring as I could, so I definitely explored as much as I could, so roughly 40 hours I would say. I had basically played the game for 5 days straight until I beat it. And if you guys have watched the previous podcast, you would know that I actually got in trouble for staying up playing this game so late. So yeah, day of release, I played it from 10 p.m. of the 9th till 5:30 a.m. of the 10th. So I basically played for like 7 hours straight. I got from chapter 1 to chapter 5, and yeah, I was a madman. I was eating that shit up. I didn't want to go to bed. I was just enjoying the hell out of that story. It was just too good. I was like, I can't get off, but my mom didn't like me being up that late, and who knows why she was even up that late anyway, or early. You could say early, not late, but yeah. So yeah, I got in trouble. I took like a 6-hour power nap, and then as soon as I woke up, back on the game, and that's basically how the cycle was for at least, like 5 days is roughly how long it took me to beat it. And just wow, what an experience that was. Man, that game was phenomenal. I do gotta say, I'm pretty sure I cried during the end credit scene with the Hollow song. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure I did, if memory serves me right. But yeah, wow, Square Enix and everyone who worked on this game like really just knocked it out of the park. Everything about this game was like genuinely perfect to me. I loved the combat, and I thought it was like a great mix of like old turn-based RPG elements of the original and like new action RPG elements of like, say, Kingdom Hearts or whatever. It was a great blend between both, and I think fans of both types of fighting styles really liked this game, or at least, I did. Hopefully other people did as well. And don't even get me started on that music. Wow. The new arranged renditions of old tracks and the blend of new tracks was pure musical bliss to my ears. I have pretty much all the soundtracks saved to my phone now, and I kid you not, I just listen to the soundtrack in my own free time, just like driving to work or driving to and from school or just chilling in my room. Like, it's just so good. Some highlights of the remake soundtrack for me are, of course, the battle theme, super iconic. It's just the orchestra, just everything about it. The Airbuster was so good. On Our Way, I love that song. It's really beautiful to me. And of course, the new rendition of One Winged Angel at the end for the boss fight is just, and I think it's the longest version to date. It's like 11 minutes long, which, geez, that is a long song. I don't know how they're going to outdo this for the other remakes, remake games. If they're just going to use the same song, or if they're going to add to it or do like a new composition, which I hope they do. But yeah, just that music, man, it's just crazy. And music for me is personally a really big deal when it comes to video games, especially ones that mean a lot to me. So I was glad that pretty much every song in this game was like a certified bop. Like, I can't, even just thinking now, I can't really think of a bad song. I really enjoyed all of it. I got Platinum Trophy on this game, which, let me tell you, was no easy feat. I had to replay the game again on hard mode, and let me tell you that it's hard mode for a reason. It's sometimes even brutal. It basically took me 60 hours to beat the game again on hard mode. So the first time it took me 40 hours, so it's basically 20 more hours of just constantly dying. But man, it was so rewarding when I got that gold trophy after beating all the chapters on hard mode. But man, did I get my shit rocked. I should have kept a count of how many times I died, because let me just say, it was a lot. And then just like that, I had gotten the Platinum Trophy with a total of 117 hours played. So I could definitely say that I got my money's worth. In conclusion, I would just like to say that this remake is truly brilliant. It made me fall in love with a world I had little to no knowledge of before. And in a short amount of time, it was able to get me to fall in love with these characters and their stories. The ending cliffhanger is a perfect setup for the sequel, where we finally get to roam the open world. One last thing, this game was so damn good, it made me crave more Final Fantasy VII content, that I bought the original 1997 original game that got remastered for PS4, and upon beating it, it became my favorite video game, and yes, my favorite piece of fiction of all time. That is a pretty big statement, but I can stand by that statement. It is probably the near perfect story, in my opinion. Every anime, manga, show, whatever, everything, game I've played, Final Fantasy VII, for me, at least right now, is the top. I just love everything about it. And I cannot wait to see what the future remake games do with what happens once you leave Midgar, because truly in the original, the game really gets good once you get past Midgar, because Midgar is essentially just the tutorial. But yeah, So from one Little Kingdom Hearts weeb to the team, the whole team of Square Enix, Tetsuya Nomura, everyone who worked on it, I just want to say thank you for making Final Fantasy VII Remake. Hey guys, if you made it to the end of this video, which hopefully you have, I hope you enjoyed. It took me a long time to edit this video. Actually, it took me the whole day, but it was fun. I'm glad I got to make a video essay on something that I am so passionate about, and that being Final Fantasy VII. So if you guys did like the video, make sure to give a like, and I'm going to be ending this video in a way that I feel like is the only true way to end a great Final Fantasy VII video essay.
もう大丈夫だね。
うん。俺は一人じゃない。